Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I'm Charles Aniagolu. Now, the Nigerian government has been pushing back against Donald Trump's warning that he'll send in the U.S. military to end an existential threat to Christians. The Tinubu administration has denied that it's doing too little to protect the Christian population from Islamist extremists after Donald Trump threatened to take military action over the issue. The administration said jihadis in the north with a sinister agenda attacked all communities irrespective of their religion, and that the faith of those killed depended on local demographics. Groups monitoring violence say there's no evidence to suggest that Christians are being killed more than Muslims in Nigeria, which is roughly evenly divided between followers of the two religions. Nevertheless, on Friday, Donald Trump announced that he was adding Nigeria to the watch list the U.S. holds of nations accused of violating religious freedom. On Saturday, the U.S. president ratcheted up the rhetoric, announcing that he's instructing the Pentagon to prepare for possible action to smash Islamic terrorists in Nigeria. An attack, he said, would be fast, vicious, and sweet. He called Nigeria a disgraced country, warning that all aid and assistance would be cut. Well, for his assessment of this, I'm joined now in the studio by the noted Professor of Political Science, Jibrin Ibrahim, who's chair of the editorial board of Nigeria's Premium Times newspaper and senior fellow at the Center for Democracy and Development. Prof, thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure.
Good to see you again. Is there a sense that the Nigerian government ought to have seen this coming for some time now?
Definitely. I think it's been coming for a very long time, and they are aware of it. I raised the issue in my column 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely, I saw that article.
Yeah, and I pointed out that the Commission on Religious Freedom has been coming to Nigeria every year to investigate petitions about massacre of Christians and Christian genocide through 2003, 4, 5. So that has been going on. And I remember when I was both global rights and subsequently in the Center for Democracy and Development as director, I've met commissioners coming on this issue. And their complaint to me is that they have these petitions piling up every year that there's Christian genocide, but they are not able to get a clear response from Nigerian government. So we are talking of generations of Nigerian governments. I mentioned also the occasion about 7, 8 years ago when we were in a conference in the United States with, it was organized by the United States Institute of Peace, and there was a congressional hearing on this matter. We went to watch the hearings, and the petitions were delivered, and the Nigerian embassy wasn't represented. There was nobody to respond to the allegations of Christian genocide. So these petitions pile up, and there's no response from the Nigerian government. And depending on the political situation, of course, the American government can draw up these petitions to say this is the situation. Nigeria has annoyed us, so this is the time to hit back at them. And that's precisely what's happening. And here, at this point, I think we have to look at what is it that irritated the American government about Nigeria, that they felt they should raise this flag again, because it's been raised before, as we all know. But I think it's unfortunate we allow these things to develop, to get out of hand, before we then try to respond in a fire brigade manner.
I think that's a very good point. And a country of particular concern is how President Trump now regards Nigeria. What does that mean in practice? Because it's not the first time Nigeria has been designated a country of particular concern. It happened, as I mentioned, in Mr. Trump's first presidential term. But does it have more teeth this time, given that the U.S. might cut all aid and assistance to Nigeria?
Well, of course, that's one of the things they can do. This designation could be very significant. It could also be largely insignificant. China has been on that list for God knows how long.
Yeah, but Nigeria isn't quite China, though, is it?
Well, North Korea, it has been on that specific list
because
for a long time.
there are really serious tariffs that were imposed on China recently.
Yeah, but not because of that.
And also North Korea has been on the fringes ever since.
Yeah. So, but I feel it's a serious issue that we get on this list. It has affected us before. I think you mentioned in your earlier program about the Tucano aircraft.
Yes.
There was a delay of many years. We were denied access to those planes because of this specific designation. And I think at this time, it could also be used to do a lot of harm to Nigeria. But I think what I find interesting on all these matters is that it's never about the facts. It's about really policy decisions that are based on other issues. I was listening to Bulama Bukarti, who was talking about his recent PhD thesis on this same matter. And he said the data he used was the data of the US government. They have this, what they call Nigeria Security Tracker, and they track each killings. So he looked at the killing that has happened in churches in Nigeria, 1,800 people killed in churches in Nigeria over this period. He looked at the killing of Muslims, 2,000 killed in mosques over the same period. So the American numbers themselves show that these killings are indiscriminate, both faiths suffer, and that more Muslims get killed in these attacks than Christians. So it's never about the facts, it's never about the data, it's about other policy issues and what's irritating them at any particular time.
So what do you think is irritating them now?
I think that's the issue, and it's not difficult to identify. Over the last 1 year, the Nigerian government has signed huge deals with China. There are deals about the industrial parks that are being set up. There are deals about transport, about ports. There are deals about mineral exploitation. And there is this sensitive issue that they've discovered Nigeria has a lot of rare earth minerals they are looking for, in addition to lithium for batteries. And China is getting a foothold on all this over the United States. And you can bet that the United States is not very happy for that. So how do they show their annoyance? They check their briefings, say, okay, we've had all these petitions against Nigeria, so this is the time to use it to frighten them into doing deals with us. And as we all know how Trump works, he threatens you, he shows you, he tells you he will do you a lot of harm. You get frightened and you go and beg.
It's the art of the deal.
And then he said, okay, let's negotiate the deal.
He calls it the art of the deal.
That's actually what's going on. It's not very difficult to understand.
In that regard, how do you assess this threat of military action? Is it just rhetoric, or is there more to it as you see it?
I don't believe they have any plans of military action. And I wouldn't even know who they will engage in military action in the context of this very diffuse war, or small militant groups moving on motorcycles to small villages. How will the United States intervene in such a thing? In any case, we all know the history of American intervention, and they have not succeeded in defeating any guerrilla force in any country in the world. And they've been working on that for the past 50 years. So it's not something that looks likely. And clearly, the United States is now very conscious that it doesn't have the capacity. It doesn't want to put American boots on the ground to be killed anymore. And because of that, its options are limited.
Well,
it can
it
bomb.
Has airstrikes.
Airstrikes, it can do that. But against who? against group of 5 people moving around at night.
Well, the point is that we don't want to wait around to find out, do we? We want to be able to sort this thing out before it gets to that stage. Let me read you something, a tweet, I think, from Peter Obi, who was the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election. He said the recent pronouncement by the US government declaring Nigeria a country of particular concern and indicating possible military action should give every well-meaning Nigerian serious concern. There's no doubt that Nigeria is experiencing an unprecedented level of insecurity and so on and so forth. He said he has repeatedly lamented the unwarranted and unprovoked killing of Nigerians, which is most condemnable, but that it is equally important to state that the terrible situation is significantly avoidable with competent leadership and government. While the insecurity did not start with the present government, what is most unfortunate is the lack and absence of competence, commitment, prudent use of resources, and so on. How do you interpret that? Is it a sort of political opportunity for the opposition to kind of leap on the bandwagon, or does what he say have merit there?
I think what he says has a lot of merit, and I've been writing a column for the past 15 years, and that's about what I've been saying almost every week over this period. The Nigerian government has a constitutional responsibility to provide for the security and welfare of Nigerians. And it has not been doing that. And since 2014, at least, the security situation in this country has been deteriorating every year. And over that period, there's been the 3 governments that have come up have all left the security situation worse than they found it. That's the reality in which we find ourselves, that our state is unable to mobilize its own security forces to adequately deal with this situation. Have they been doing that, we wouldn't be where we are today. So I think Peter Obi's message is very clear and is based on the facts of the issue, as it were.
So, I mean, you're somebody with a lot of experience as a political scientist, as someone who has done lots of research, lots of papers, I mean, communicated with people in America, all over the world, well-respected political scientists. What would you advise the Nigerian government to do in the current circumstances?
I think one of the most important things to do is to adapt the battle you are engaged in to the tactics of the opponents. And the opponents have always made it difficult for the army because they operate in small mobile bands. They have refused to engage in trench warfare. It's not me versus you,
well, it's
guerrilla
warfare,
tactics.
Yeah.
And the army has really not adapted to that reality. Set up fast, small, mobile units, well-equipped and well-trained, that can actually use available intelligence, improve that intelligence, identify where these people are, and go for them specifically. I suspect it's a costly tactic in the sense that it would result in casualties among them. And what I have seen over the years is an emphasis on bombing them from the skies. And there's nothing as wasteful as trying to bomb few individuals riding motorcycles in different directions and a plane trying to follow them. The emphasis on using bombs as opposed to being on the ground and locating them, actually taking the war to them, is what's responsible for the lack of sufficient progress.
Right. But there's also obviously somewhere where they congregate, and that's where intelligence comes in, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the issue about intelligence has always been when that intelligence is produced and it is of good quality, is it acted upon? And sometimes we also know that the intelligence is not that good. There have been cases of non-terrorists in congregational prayer or marriage festivities being targeted and bombed while they are not the terrorists. So we have both problems, the problems of poor intelligence in certain cases, and when there's good intelligence, that is not being acted upon.
I'm going to ask you a question, possibly a final one, that I put to Senator Aline Dume just before you came on. Beyond the killings and all the allegations of Christian genocide, now that the international community seems to be focusing particular attention on Nigeria, is this an opportunity for this country to acknowledge a lot of the wrongs in this country, not just against Christians, but ethnic groups, minorities, corruption, poverty, wasted lives, opportunities that have been lost, the stealing of elections, the imposition of leaders on the people that they did not choose, perhaps an opportunity to bring this country back to the right path of rectitude?
Yeah, I think the path of rectitude is the only salvation that we can have to ensure Nigeria moves forward. I accept the litany of problems you have listed is real. And there's a sense in which my feeling as a Nigerian is that I don't get the government I deserve. That we organize elections, people come into power representing us, the ordinary Nigerians, and we don't see them working for us. We see them working for themselves. And that is the core reason why democracy weakens, because people then start asking questions. What's the utility of working, of supporting somebody to come into power without being bribed, for example, if when he comes to power, he won't do anything for me? So if that person will offer me 5,000 naira, maybe I better take it, because in any case, if I vote for what I consider the right person, nothing good may come out of it. And there's nothing as destructive of democracy as that. And that's where we are headed in this country. And I think we have to divert away from that. And I think at some point, a Nigerian president has to take the decision that I'll be different from the others, that I will work for the people,
point.
That I'm not going to steal the treasury blind just because of my desire for personal aggrandizement. That's what needs to happen. And there is, in that sense, a challenge for President Tinubu that he can turn the wheels and do something different, show more commitment to the interests of the Nigerian people, focus on people who can help him not to secure another term, but to correct the ills of this country. It's an opportunity that can be historic, and I think he should take up that chance to be the person.
Very, very important words. And on that very sobering note, I want to thank you very much indeed. Professor Jibrin Ibrahim is a noted professor of political science, chair of the editorial board of Nigeria's Premium Times newspaper, and senior fellow at the Center for Democracy and Development. Much obliged to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.